Oliver Bridge. It's apparently historic. Looks kind of cool. I don't see a sign. I wonder if the sign is up at the end.
I don't know.
I don't know where it changes from Michigan to Wisconsin. But I really think that sign is very funny. Trucks must not meet vehicles on curbs. Like, it's up to you. Okay, well, this is Oliver.
We're in Wisconsin.
We are in Wisconsin. They didn't have a sign.
That bridge wasn't that bad.
No. That is not much of a sign.
No, it's not. So this is the National Parks Visitor Center in Bayfield, Wisconsin. Unfortunately, due to COVID, you're only allowed into the lobby, but they have a lot of artifacts from the lighthouses in the surrounding area. I'm not exactly sure what this building used to be. I'm guessing it used to be the courthouse, but I don't know because there's no information on it.
Because we can't go in.
We'll look though.
Greetings from Wisconsin. Came up here to the Apostle Island area to do some research on Sonia's family. Her great-great-grandfather, John Matson, was an assistant lighthouse keeper at the Outer Island and Devil's Island here in the Apostle Island area. We were really hoping to take a boat tour out to those islands and get off and be able to visit each of those lighthouses. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances this year, we weren't able to do that, as both islands were inaccessible through the boat tours right now. They were not letting anybody off of either island. As you can see from this map, Devil's Island and Outer Island are some of the furthest islands out. The Maritime Museum had a decent amount of information on the lighthouses. And it was neat to see the area. Surprising from someone who grew up near the ocean and visiting the beach on a regular basis, how much the Great Lakes seem like the ocean.
Get on the wheel there.
And the outer Apostle Islands. West of today, west wind 10 to 15 knots. Sunny. Waves 2 feet or less. Tonight, west wind
It was interesting and neat to see the similarities between the watercraft used in the Great Lakes and how much they would be at home in the ocean. A lot of them looked like they were made for the ocean.
Bayfield, Wisconsin. I believe that's Basswood Island. And that is Madeline Island. And back that way is the mainland and Ashland, Wisconsin.
We definitely had a good visit there. One day was not enough. Hopefully we can return there and do more exploring, especially after the lighthouses are opened back up, so we can actually see where great-great-grandpa John Matson worked.
All right, so this is the old homestead area for John Matson and Edma. They had 160 acres up here that they homesteaded while he was lighthouse keeper.
Welcome to Christmas. We're in Christmas, Michigan. And axe throwing. Common Christmas sport. There's the North Pole.
Pictured Rocks was a lot of fun. Lots of stuff to do and see. And with our scheduling, we only had one day there. It's another place that would be nice to come back to with more time. I want to rent a pontoon boat and go up and down the shore and see some of the sights there are to see there. Waterfalls are cool. Different than what we have back home, but still neat.
Having fun?
We've had some pretty impressive spots for lunch along this trip so far.
Where are we at?
We're at Miners Falls, close to the shore of Lake Superior.
Cool.
Rock formations along pictured rocks are really neat. Miner's Castle was a lot of fun to go see. Still want to take a boat ride up and down the shore, as there's some other really neat rock features to see. But our schedule only allowed us one day to visit, so we made the most of it. One thing different about the lighthouses that we've seen here are a lot of them are called range lights, and there's two lights in close proximity to each other. That from a ship, they can use the angle of the lights to determine where they're at more accurately. A lot different than the Pacific Ocean, where the lighthouses were just one lighthouse by itself. This particular lighthouse was made in 1867. On to Mackinac Island. This was something that was high up on the list when we started planning this trip. It's almost like a step back in time. The island still does not allow any cars, trucks, or any motorized vehicles, except for a few emergency or maintenance vehicles. It's all horses and bicycles and pedestrians. A lot of the buildings date back to the 1800s, with a few of them going all the way back to the 1700s. Look at those houses. We decided for this trip, again, only a one-day trip, to leave our bikes back at camp and just do some minor exploring on the south end of the island. We had intended on bringing our bikes and doing the entire perimeter road that goes all the way around the island. But unfortunately, due to construction, half of it was closed. It worked out this trip to do it all on foot. We were planning on taking a horse-drawn taxi, but unfortunately, when we got to where we were going, the taxi said they couldn't go there. So we ended up walking the whole time. If we do make it back here, I'd like to plan a few more days, including staying here at the Grand Hotel. They've had a rule in place for decades that says if you're at the Grand Hotel, I believe it's after 6 p.m., all men have to be in ties with a suit jacket, and women used to have to wear dresses. That was the City Hall and Police Department. Michigan State Police actually manned the station. Fort Mackinac actually predates 1780. The British were here prior to, and it actually started construction either in the 1760s or 1770s. Then as the Revolutionary War came to an end and the fort was going to be turned over to America, they stopped construction. When the Americans took over, they finished several of the buildings in 1780. They also put on rifle and cannon demonstrations during the day. Interesting side note in the history of the fort. In the War of 1812, the British snuck onto the island on the north end, surprised the Americans, and the Americans were severely outnumbered. And after just firing one shot from their cannon, the British were able to take the fort over for a few years. Nels Dutch Village, Holland, Michigan. Sonia's been here a couple times as a kid. There was a neat drawbridge back when she was here years ago that had counterweights, so even a small child could lift the gate up. Unfortunately, probably because of years of wear and tear and how our society has changed, it's no longer a drawbridge. It's still a bridge, but it doesn't go up anymore. Really enjoyed the visit here. It's neat how they capture the culture and keep it alive. Neat to see some of the specific arts and crafts that they brought over with them. The Delft ware was amazing. And most of what you see is actually hand painted. Couldn't imagine the steady hand needed to paint that in such clear detail. Oh, was the cheese delicious. One of my favorites was aged sheep's cheese. They also had a hot and spicy cheese curd that was pretty good too.
I'd be here for hours because I'm actually going to get that right shape, but that's all I'm doing right now.
So what maybe you're going to get into how long from, let's just say from that to shoot?
Oh, I'll tell you.
Okay,
And then you start using this thing, this is called a bench knife, and you just start peeling away the layers you kind of broke off with your hatchet. This is taking way more effort than it needs to be. I had actually soaked it in water. But you kind of peel off the layers like an onion, except you don't cry when you do this unless you cut off a finger. So, after that process, this process takes about 45 minutes. You can make it look something like this. Maybe this will take me a long time. And then they put it in a fixed position, and then they'll start the boring process. First, what they do is they start flipping like this. This is like your first kind of power drill. And this would just make the initial hole. You don't dig deep with this, and you just make the hole to start the boring process. So after that, I wouldn't take that long. They would move to one of their favorite tools. And I'm saying their favorite, it's actually my favorite. It's called the Spoon Chisel. And the Netherlands like naming things for obvious reasons. It looks like a spoon. So what they'll do is they'll stick it in there and they'll just start twisting it, carving out the middle. The bigger they make the hole, they'll move to to more precise tools. So then I moved down to a little bit tinier spoon chisel. Just start perfecting my work. And then move into a tinier spoon chisel. Ultimately, this was the longest process, the boring, for the whole shoemaking. And, oh, that's broken. Okay, so the last tool they use is something called a hook knife. And it's kind of like a knife and a shaped hook. And they'd use this to fit the shoe to the person's feet they were making it for. This is the last tool they'd use, and the last thing they do is they would sand it. And for the sanding, they would use shark skin. Because at that time they didn't have any mechanically made sandpaper or things like that. So at the end it looks something like that, all sanded out and all perfect. The process of boring probably took around 1.5 to 2 hours. And the whole process, more like, it took probably 2.5 hours to more likely 3 hours if you're an experienced coffin maker.
That sounds better.
This is awesome. Is it okay to come out?
Yep. Gallery goes all the way around.